Hello, hi, good afternoon, Mukesh. So we'll just wait for a couple of minutes for everyone to join. We're expecting more people. Um, I hope everyone's doing okay. You guys can write in the chat. Hey, good afternoon, Vivian. Happy to have you. Hey, Divish. Awesome. Looking forward to giving you a good session. I hope I'm audible to everyone and my voice is clear. Okay, awesome. So where is everyone from? While we're waiting, I think I'd like to quickly, check and know from you guys that where are you from? Which part of India are you guys from? Let me just pull up a quick poll so that you can take the poll. So which part of India are you guys from? From the north, south, east, west? So you just need to click on, I hope you can see the poll. I can see a couple of you guys are answering. All you have to do is click on the button where you have the option to select. There are a lot of people from west and equal amount of people from the south. We have someone from the east as well. Okay. A lot more people from north. Okay. Wow, a lot of people from the west. Awesome. Okay. Just another minute and then we'll start. I think we have a lot of people. Can everyone test their audio so that we know if anyone is not able to just say hi one by one.
Check Anand here. Check.
Okay. If guys, if you can't hear any of them, please write that in the chat so we can get it fixed before.
This is Vinod here. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mangesh here.
Awesome. Okay, so awesome. Thanks, Vivian, for letting us know. Great. So let's begin. Yeah. So we'll be doing a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. So if anyone has any questions, you can obviously add them in the Q&A session, Q&A box throughout. We have Jignesh from the Zoom team here that will be answering questions throughout the session. If anyone wants to talk to us live, you can always raise your hand or add in the Q&A or chat, and I will allow you to talk and you can directly interact with us towards the end of the session. So to begin, thank you, for joining us today for an interactive fireside, in which we will be exploring digital transformation in the education sector. My name is Pallavi Gupta and I am with Rahi, and I am based out of Pune. I sit in the Pune office for Rahi. For those of you who may not know us yet, Rahi is a California-based IT and AV solutions provider with offices across US, EMEA, APAC, and India. We provide a full life cycle of design, product, and services to basically custom fit the technology needs of corporations and a lot of institutions globally. Today's webinar's objective is to enlighten you about the problems that educators and students encounter during online lectures and trainings, and how these challenges may be addressed by integrating a conferencing platform with an intelligent audio video device. Various tools and devices today are being used to deliver lectures, with schools and institutions that are now shut due to the pandemic. Our goal as an AV solutions provider is to make this learning experience more seamless and reliable for educational institutions. Every educational environment is unique and has its own set of needs based on the type of learning imparted to the number of students attending online lectures. It is critical to bring in service providers like Rahi to easily identify what technology and hardware would work best to solve these challenges and achieve efficient functioning for both educators and students. For today's webinar, we've invited Zoom, our global partner, along with Jabra, who is a pioneer in audio video technology, and they are going to join us in an interactive and interesting discussion today. With their feature rich products and digital innovations, they were at the forefront of delivering simplified solutions for virtual and hybrid learning when in person learning was not an option. Their primary emphasis and objective is to implement digital transformation in teaching and learning so that lectures are more than just video calls in which faculty and students participate, collaborate, and annotate as if they're really in class. So, that being said, let me introduce you to our panelists today. We have Anand Bala, who's a segment leader, SMB Sales, India and SAC from Zoom. We have Vinod Kumar, Business Development Manager, South Asia from Jabra. And we have our very own Mangesh. He's a Senior Manager Pre-Sales from Rahi. So Mangesh, since I've introduced you last and you're also from Rahi and this is a Rahi webinar, so why don't you kick us off, by talking a bit about yourself, your role, what do you do at Rahi and a little bit about what we're going to talk about today and what is it that we're going to cover.
Sure, Pallavi. Thank you so much for the intro. Hello, everyone. Very good afternoon once again. Thank you for joining the session today. Myself, Mangesh Rathod. I'm from the technical pre-sales background and take care of solution designing at Rahi Systems. About Rahi Systems, we are the technological solution partners enabling clients with solutions to fix their problem. So discussing about the problem today, one of the important challenges we have seen in the educational sector, and we would share our experience, how we have worked with our solution partners to fix those issues. So learning is a continuous process, as we know, we never stop learning from kindergarten to graduations, doing PhDs, learning new skills in our professional growth. We experience a range of learning environments. Traditionally, we favored the legacy learning system where we used to physically present in the classroom to acquire knowledge. We used to go to the coaching classes, to our colleges and all the stuff. But in today's world, today we are into pandemic and pandemic has delayed or stopped learning, I can say, which can be significant loss for everyone. So there was a pressing need to keep learning moving forward for everyone. So considering this challenges, digitalization was the need of the hour. Okay, digitalization in education is assisting in removal of bottlenecks and fight challenges in order to continue hassle-free and effective learning for all. As the popularity of digital learning is growing, new methods for teaching and learning are being implemented in schools, in colleges, in private tuitions, coaching classes, higher education. So everyone has to go through this change. Okay, change is inevitable in schooling and current technological advancements. School and colleges, coaching classes has moved to the digital platform, and it was critical to keep the learning going on for their survival as well, and to avoid the losses of the students, because these are building blocks of anyone's career or professional life. So how digitalization has adoption to digitalization, when we compare to the traditional system, how digitalization is effective, which we would be covering, as it is helping us solving the current issues due to the pandemic situation. So firstly, it provides a rapid sharing of information at any scale. We as it's a digital platform, it is available 24/7. And the accessibility to education with a very low bandwidth requirement. uh, we can share screen, do whiteboarding, polls. We can make a very effective collaboration way. Even we have seen that and as people are becoming familiar with this platform. Like, people are arranging the live events which you used to have over the digital webinar platform. So that was like, where we are adopting to the digital systems to, like, fight this difficult times, Pallavi, and which we are helping our clients in the educational sector, in the learning sector, to, like, work well in this time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mangesh, for letting us know how important it is for us to digitally adapt to technology right now, whether it is for work or especially for education, for sure. Thank you. Moving on to Anand. Anand, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and go over what you think are the challenges that the industry has faced during the pandemic and how it has affected, especially the education system altogether.
Uh, Thanks, Pallavi. Thanks for that question. I manage the SMB business for Zoom in India and SAARC. Along with me on this call is the Batman and Robin for my team at Zoom, Jignesh. He kind of makes sure that he's there. He's a solution engineer and supports my team at Zoom. And I thought it'd be useful to have him in case there are some questions. So that's what Jignesh and I kind of do. Now, I'd like to first remove my cap as a Zoomie, as a Zoom person, and wear the cap that I wear most of the time, which is that of a father. And over the last year and a half or so, I have to acknowledge the fantastic work, and I know there are teachers on this call as well, but the fantastic work that's been done there. And I think sometimes we tend to underplay the challenges that teachers have faced during this pandemic. So a big thank you. And I have a 4-year-old at home. I have a 9-year-old at home. One of them will definitely walk in and make sure that we are disturbed. I know that will happen. And I have my niece as well, who's in the 9th standard. All of them use Zoom and they're using it with pretty much ease. And I think that comes to, and I roll back to that question on what are the challenges. I think the biggest challenge was scale, right? How do you just switch on for such massive scale in terms of so many users coming on at the same time and creating a platform that's easy to use, can scale, and your total cost of ownership is low. So I think ease of use, scale, total cost of ownership. Those are the main challenges that most schools face during the pandemic, and I think those are challenges that will confront educators as we move along as well. I hope I answered that question, Pallavi, but I'll throw the ball back to you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for kind of putting it in a nutshell. What is the challenges that the education sector has faced? Um, of course, this is something that we're going to be addressing, in this webinar as well. So thanks for bringing light on it. Moving on to our last, but obviously not the least panelist, Vinod, if you can, introduce your, self to us, what your role is at Jabra and what Jabra does, and if you can, put some light on, the issues faced by educators on, virtual and hybrid, education during the pandemic from a technical point of view, I think that would be great.
Sure, Pallavi. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for this. I'm Vinod. I have been with Jabra for the past 18 months, and I handle the business development from the technical aspect for South Asia. So that's my role. Yes, as Anand mentioned, keeping aside my role in Jabra, just to give a sneak peek about Jabra, we are about a 151-year-old company, and we started off building audio devices for people with hearing impairment and hearing challenge. So that's where our roots are. So we understand the human ear much better than everyone else. That's typically what I say. So yes, that's about myself and a sneak peek into my company. But typically, Pallavi, what I see as a challenge is just like as Anand mentioned, I relate myself as a parent first. And last year, when around March, April timeframe, when we had a sudden a good evening call from our Prime Minister saying that the country was clamping down into a lockdown, while my daughter, who was in 10th, started enjoying. So she said, like, I have an extended vacation. I I started foreseeing the problems that her teachers or we as parents would encounter in the days to come. Obviously, that was a vital year for her. And of course, very honestly, if you ask me, our educators were not really ready for what was coming their way. And thanks to all the teachers and educators who are on this call, I think hats off to each and every one of you for jumping into the fire from the day one. And I think not a single day was actually wasted for kids. I mean, every day the education continued, no matter what the situation was, no matter what was happening in their family or at their household, with typical challenges. Like, I mean, I have literally seen this. Many of the teachers started using their personal mobile devices, personal cell phones, or even the webcams they had at home. Also, I think at that point in time, nobody was geared up to have solutions like Zoom to support them. I mean, I still remember there were classes going on with the half an hour, 45-minute licenses, post which the classes would get abruptly disconnected. Kids did not know where to connect back again. Teachers did not know what to do next. So, I mean, we have seen these typical challenges, and that's where I think today, thanks to solutions like Zoom, where we have not only the back-end infrastructure, which makes life so simple. There are absolutely no technological hassles. You don't just, if you want to get 100 or 200 kids on a single call, you can do that today. And of course, we as world-class device manufacturers, we extend the same arm to the people like Rahi and Zoom, where the experience matters when it comes to education, and for the experience matters for kids. And of course, not to leave out, again, thanks to our friends in Rahi who have actually put our solution and the Zoom solution together to make life that much more simple for our educators and students. That's about myself and I. Thanks, Pallavi, once again.
Thank you, Vinod, for your views. I must say that the Jabra products are definitely really good. I'm using the headphones, and I'm very loud, anyways. So I can't hear anything from outside. So I'm pretty sure the entire office can hear me. But they're really cool, and thank you for giving your views and highlighting some of the very basic but very real issues that we faced when the pandemic happened, and with so much confusion. We've seen that even Zoom came up with so many solutions later on, because they knew what the problems were and it was addressed, along with obviously hardware and technology partners like Jabra. On that note, because you've thanked us, for supporting you to get these deployments done, I think my next question is to Mangesh. Mangesh, since you are experienced with deploying all of these solutions in certain educational institutions, can you tell me what today the AV industry has changed for the education industry? You're on mute.
Yeah, yeah, Pallavi. So basically, educational sector, like AV, especially in the educational sector, creates an interactive and engaging educational experience, which holds the students' attention. So it gives an audio-visual understanding, which means that you learn what you see, or you see what you learn. So we were seeing this in all the schools where they were moving to the audiovisual platforms. They used to have rooms for audiovisuals and all those things. Now, most importantly, in today's environment where we are in pandemic, okay, the movements are restricted. We unable to go out. We are locked at home. The AV industry, especially the video conferencing platform, especially Zoom, has helped to fight this challenging time and made it possible for people to connect each other virtually. This helped the businesses, this helped the educational sector, this helped other sectors as well to keep moving in this difficult time.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Thank you, Mangesh, for letting us know that. Anand, my next question is to you. So, with classrooms going online, how did Zoom, as a conferencing tool, help, educators and students interact with each other?
So it's a good question, and it kind of hides a little bit of complexity as well, right? Uh, when we look at a classroom, right, there's a lot going on in there in a real world classroom, right? Uh, we try to create as much of that as possible online for educators, right? One example of this is how much of control can we give a teacher within a classroom, right? Can they control how students interact? Can they control how they deliver content? So providing the right set of controls to educators was something that we kind of stepped up and did. Second, in addition to the control, what are the tools that we can give an educator? We saw one example, which was the poll that you started with. Mangesh alluded to a few other tools like annotation, right? The ability to share content, share presentation, and I think with Vinod being around as well, we will definitely see some of the other things that is possible in terms of empowering educators, right? So a bunch of tools that I know we'll never be able to replicate a real classroom 100%, right? That's not going to happen. Having said that, can we put tools in the hands of educators to come as close as possible to replicating that classroom environment? And the last, and I think this is the most underrated, ease of use. How easy is it for somebody to use the platform? And I think that's where, if you put all these three together, I think that's where Zoom stepped up to the plate, managed to deliver, which is why adoption rates just went through the roof, right? It's just not a personal experience, but I'm sure everybody has people on this call. We have other people who we know who all are using Zoom in different use cases. So ease of use, control, and the right set of tools all combined. I think that's where we came to help educators and students as well, right? I mean, how do you make it easy for a 4-year-old to learn something like sight words online? That's I think where these three come together: ease of use, control, and the tools. Back to you, Pallavi.
Awesome. Thank you. So thanks for, covering the virtual aspect of this. I think my main question now will be to Vinod because, like, because Anand has covered the virtual aspect of it and how it can be easier. But there's a new concept now called hybrid learning environment, where it's a mix of classrooms and, half of
Yes.
them come to the college or school to learn. So, what are the resources that are available, with on campus and online students, simultaneously learning?
Yes, I mean that's I think every few years we always have some buzzwords coming up, and today I think hybrid classes or hybrid learning is the new buzzword with the new norm. Yes, I mean, Jabra, as Jabra, we always believe that when it comes to hybrid learning, obviously, there would be some students probably taking the class sitting at home, while half might be about half or 10%, whatever the school or educational institution believes in as the safe norm. Those kids would probably be back in the campus. So now, where we as Jabra strive is to give that same level of experience. Obviously, yes, you can't replicate being in the classroom. You can't actually touch and feel your friends, because that's what kids today love to do that. But still, about if we are able to bring up about 80% of this virtual situation into reality, I think we have achieved that milestone. And in that aspect, I would like to say, like, I mean, as Jabra, our important focus is to have an impactful visual collaboration. So when I say visual collaboration, it just does not mean video or just about the camera. It's also both audio as well as video. So there are kids who are at home. If they, I mean, thanks, you said about you love the headset of Jabra. And imagine if my daughter came up with the same this one, it would be heartening for me that I have achieved something over there. So because the kids are the ones who are actually using this for longer duration, right? They have tender ears, so that needs to be protected, and that's where we strive. And of course, as for teachers and for the faculty, we should always keep them away from the technology. So basically, they should just get onto the dais or the podium, and then they are in their own world. So they weave the magic when they teach, and that's what we need to provide them, and that's where we strive to get them what they want.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, thanks, Vinod. So Anand, I can see that, there is a question in the Q&A as well. And this is something that obviously we would want to talk about, is the security aspect of, classrooms and Zoom. So how does, Zoom ensure top-notch security in today's scenario?
Thanks, Pallavi. How much time do I have? And I can go on for 2 hours there plus, right, and still not finish. But yeah, I think it's a good question. I think it's top of mind. Whether I'm a parent or whether I'm a user, I think security is critical, right? I'll try and simplify it here, right? Again, it's a question of what's the level of control that we provide. One, it's an extremely secure platform, right? Industry standard. One. Second, let's look at what are the tools that are there in the hands of teachers to help manage this, right? One, a waiting room, something as simple as that. Put a waiting room, you decide who gets to come in, who gets to go out, right? Determine who gets to come in and out of your room. You can enable a simple password for a meeting, right? Again, a good way to secure the meeting is to make sure that it's password enabled, right? You can disable who gets to share, or you can decide whether you as a teacher get to annotate or whether everybody gets to annotate. So determine who gets to do what in terms of sharing content, sharing their screen, put those controls also in play. So typically, if you take a control that a teacher would want to have in a classroom, Zoom has more or less found a way to help you get that control in a virtual classroom as well, right? And I'd like to, point folks out to this wonderful blog post that we have. I'll get it posted out in the chat, which is how to secure your virtual classroom. It's out there on the Zoom blog. Multiple tips on the features that we recommend for you to kind of make sure that your classrooms remain secure. But whether it be end-to-end, the most technical form of encryption, from something like that to something as simple as determining who can do screen sharing, we make sure that we put as much control as we can in the hands of the educators to make sure that the classroom is secure. And I think that's what I had. That's the short answer, Pallavi. If you give me 2 more hours, I can go down feature on security.
Absolutely. So, while that definitely is a satisfactory answer from a security aspect, when we've all been to school and colleges, and we've all been bored at lectures, and the only interesting part in lectures was the activities and the projects that, or probably any activities that we did as a group.
Yeah.
So how do you think that can be possible in a virtual, you can't go and sit with someone for an assignment in class. So how do you think that can happen as an online platform?
Good question. And I think Mangesh already stole my thunder here. I think we do have the concept of a breakout room, right? And many-to-many interaction is so critical in pedagogy, right? You don't want learning is not necessarily a one-way exercise. It's about students collaborating. Let's look at this from a higher education standpoint, not just schools, right? If you are in a college campus and you want 5 students to come together and discuss a specific topic or collaborate over homework, right? Classwork, you can use breakout rooms. An educator can determine who will be in the breakout room prior to the class, or you could within the class assign students to the breakout room manually, right? I've got use cases where you've got several hundred students joining one large classroom, And then you've got teachers in individual breakout rooms, right? So you can actually do a certain amount of configuration there to make sure that students continue to collaborate, put them in a breakout room, time that breakout room, let them come back, right? If I was not mistaken, I think my niece was doing something on the Russian Revolution this morning where she said, I'm sorry, I didn't get the French Revolution. I got the Russian 1917 thing. I'm in that breakout room. So you can use these tools to get students to work together and collaborate and share notes. More importantly, try and recreate as close as possible what you can in a classroom environment. What's the purpose? Make it more inclusive, get more participation. The more inclusive it is, the better the learning outcomes will be. And I think that's where we're trying to anchor. Can we ensure that we maintain those learning outcomes in a virtual environment? I hope I answered that question for you, Pallavi.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's a feature that will definitely, keep the session interactive, because even for the teacher, it's really hard to get the attention of students and keep that attention going throughout a long lecture. So breakout rooms, I think, bigger class, smaller class, for sure will help the education system to make sure that students are actually learning, listening, participating. So yeah, that does answer my question for sure. Mangesh, I'm going to throw this question at you. So, students frequently remark that, poor audio video quality, is a major hindrance while, attending any online courses. And many educators, find it difficult to adapt to new technology. So how will this integrated solution, help resolve the user's problem, and how will the education institute benefit from this?
Yeah, Pallavi, that's true. See, being a virtual platform, audio video is the heart of the platform. Okay, till the time if the audio video is not good, the adoption would be very difficult. And the complete virtualization and the digitalization, which we call it's over the internet connectivity, and that's why it helps people scattered remotely can join over a single platform. But now when we are considering in the today's world, we are technologically growing every day. The data has taken over, mostly all gadgets you could see, even at home you could see automation where you can switch off your AC, you can ask Alexa to do anything for you. So we see that the data is taking over. We are in the IoT world, the Internet of Things world. And uh, we are getting if you see how the network connectivity improved, earlier the technology started from 56 kbs, and now we are having copper fiber connectivity with speeds of 20 mbps, 40 mbps, 100 mbps, even gigabit speed. Okay. And even the cellular network, it's growing from 2G, 3G, 4G, and now we are talking about 5G. So the tech network advancements, they have grown very very fast. Okay. But being said that, okay, the beauty of the virtual platform, especially Zoom, is it uses minimal bandwidth. And the streaming is such that even if the bandwidth is low enough, okay, there are technology parameters in the backend like QoS, which would help you give preference over the audio, then it will give preference to the screen share, then to the video. So that way at least there are no hindrance in your virtual communication. Okay. So that way, uh, as it's network connected, but then the platform is designed in such a way that at least you can hear the audio clearly in the communication. And if you have better bandwidth and good connectivity, your communication would be smooth enough.
Okay, absolutely. That makes total sense to me. I think on the same note, since we're talking about an audio and video device, Vinod, how does Jabra or Jabra products help, with what Mangesh just said, for clear audio and video?
So Pallavi, I mean, the thing is, the, people think connecting audio or a video device is very very complex. I mean, that's the misnomer in everybody's mind, because yes, probably about 2 decades ago when I first stepped into this industry, even I too hadn't touched a remote control of a video device probably, and there is always a first time for everyone, right? So I mean, my hands were trembling when I was supposed to get onto a call, and those were the days when we were using those rack-mounted multi-conference units, and of course, thanks to technologies like Zoom, where we at least don't get to see the gray boxes in front of us in the data centers. Having said that, yes, the devices that we help educators or help our customers from Jabra are very simple to use. I mean, it's just like connecting your computer or your mouse to a computer. So our devices are USB based. So every kid today knows how to connect a USB peripheral into the this one. Having said that, there is also a misnomer in the industry that a word called plug and play. So that is a very gray area, I would say, because if everything in this world was plug and play, obviously teachers would not be required, and we would not be where we are. Likewise, if devices were so easy, and I mean, just reading a catalog, if it was plug and play, then people like Rahi would not be there, and the world would have been different. So having said that, yes, the devices are plug and play, provided it is actually set up by experts. And of course, we have experts on both the sides of the horizon, one from delivery point, like people like Rahi, and the last mile connectivity technologies like Zoom. And we are in between. So we are, I would say, the mid layer in between.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. So because this is supposed to be an interactive session, so I'm actually going to drop a poll before we move on to the rest of the session. I'm just launching the poll, and I would like everyone's opinion on which is your preferred method, whether you would like to use a blackboard or a whiteboard, and how would you prefer to do your PowerPoint presentation, whether as a virtual background, during your online meetings, or screen share. So it's very simple to use uh, you know the poll. All you have to do is click on the options that you have. They're all clickable. Some have multiple options, and then there's a single option. Wow, we have maximum people preferring the digital whiteboard. Okay. Okay, so a lot of them do prefer PowerPoint presentations as a virtual background during online meetings. So this is a very interesting feature where you're presenting and you're also on the screen, and you're as presenting as well. Actually, why am I even explaining it? So Anand, you're on the call, and I know that Zoom has this brilliant feature of annotating and collaborating. So why don't you just go ahead and show your magic?
Good point. Let me quickly show you annotation, and thanks for lobbing it here. This is a very simple whiteboard, and I just click on share screen and I pull up a whiteboard, and here I could just go as a teacher. If I had slightly better handwriting, which unfortunately sticks with me after so many years, right? Something simple like this, I can do that. Now, Jignesh, do you want to kind of put the answer in for this? See, now Jignesh is annotating here. I, as a controller, could have previously said whether Jignesh can or cannot kind of annotate on the screen, and whether he can add something or not. So I can have multiple people literally, adding to this particular whiteboard, right? It's a pretty nifty, simple feature that allows a teacher to very quickly open up a whiteboard, and whiteboard is the most critical tool, I think, within a classroom for a teacher. So providing that on the platform is one way to do it. Now, you could do that way. Now, you could also be an old school teacher that says, look, I like the whiteboard here, but I still prefer a notebook, a pen and a paper. And let me see if, Jignesh, I don't know whether you can pull it off or not. I know I'm putting you in a spot, but can you show me how you can attach a camera on against the notebook or something?
Yeah, sure. So ideally, sometimes it's difficult to share the digital whiteboard if they don't have a touch screen, right, in their laptop or desktop. So teacher are more comfortable writing on the notepad. So let me share my notepad as the second camera, wherein you can see I want to share some picture over here. I can share. So this I have connected my second camera as, and this is some drawing book I'm sharing with you. Even if I want to share something and write over here, so I can write. So teacher are more comfortable on writing and notepad and share with the student, right? But now further to this, now teacher want to do a whiteboard on the actual whiteboard or blackboard within their house or from their classroom when they are going for hybrid classroom. We have an option with the Jabra also. With the Jabra, you can use your actual physical whiteboard and share the whiteboard, right? So I'm handing over to the Vinod to demo that actual whiteboard sharing.
Jignesh, I did pick up that you still have not answered the A square plus B square question, but anyway, I'll over to you.
Yeah.
Guys, what you saw previously was also the presenters, the virtual background kind of a view where it's similar to that, where the presentation is in the background and you'll be still be able to see if Anand is presenting, his presentation will be in the background and his video will be a part of the presentation. So it's familiar to that, but it'll be on a wider screen and he will be on the presentation itself on the slide. Vinod, come on, show your magic.
Yeah, so thank you. So basically, what you're going to see from my side is typically a whiteboard that I mean, totally our educators would be used to. So here you have, when I go to the whiteboard and start writing, you would see you would be still using the same whiteboard and the markers. It could even be your blackboard or the glass board that you are typically tuned into. And that's how we at Jabra, Zoom, and Rahi make things simple for you.
Wow, that's awesome.
Just a quick question there, Pallavi. Sorry. So Vinod, what you're telling me is that the camera just pans straight over immediately to that whiteboard.
That's what I was going to point out as well. So, I think you're using this camera that's, directly pointed. And I saw this very cool thing where it moved when you moved. So if you can, talk a bit more about that, I think it's the Panicast 50. So I think that would be great. Yeah.
Thanks for pointing that out, picking it up, Anand and Pallavi. So I'm using a Jabra Panicast 50, which we have very recently launched. It's just about on 15th of June, we started shipping out the first units out of the factory. And yes, this here you just need one device. So the camera itself has a 180-degree field of view. When I say 180-degree field of view, the camera can actually pick up the educator, which is the teacher. It can cover your classroom, plus it can cover the whiteboard. So you don't need multiple cameras, multiple connectivities, and the more complexity, it is much more trouble for a teacher. So we just keep this simple. And from the teacher point of view, of course, they could use their smartphones to activate the camera, or of course, you have the pleasure of using the age-old remote as well. So that's how it's one click to bring up anything. And here, the camera does not focus onto the whiteboard. So basically, what the technology does is we have 3 camera sensors, unlike normal video devices. So these are 3 13.3 megapixel 4K cameras. So your whiteboard or blackboard could be on the left wall or right wall or anything in between, or even on a stand. And our cameras basically make the whiteboard or the blackboard appear completely orthogonal, which is 90 degrees to the camera, and then puts it. So children can actually read it as if they are reading it out of a slate.
Wow. That's really good. I think it'll bring back a lot of memories. It's like a virtual feel of school. So
Absolutely.
that's really good.
And you
Thanks.
were talking about the virtual PPT coming as a background. Here, you can actually have the teacher stand in front of the blackboard or the whiteboard. So the board can actually be the background. So you still gives you the same
Yeah,
classroom effect. Yeah.
absolutely. For anyone who prefers, is more comfortable with that, I think that's a great feature to have. So
Pallavi, if I could just interrupt you there for a second, if you don't
absolutely,
mind.
yeah.
So let me just try and do what Vinod just suggested, right? And
Okay.
imagine you have a hybrid environment where you've got one educator within a classroom and you have another educator on call and you have students in different places, right? So for me, the area of comfort might be I'll just use the slide as a background. So he's just preparing here, right? There you have me. I'm just using a dummy slide here. Now I can work this way on the slide, walk through slide by slide, right? And continue the presentation one by one. The moment I stop share, I can switch back to Vinod and say, Vinod, over to you, and Vinod will immediately pan to the whiteboard. So there.
Yes. And here I go to the whiteboard, just like what Anand did. But here I am using the physical whiteboard with my time-tested and trusted marker. So for a teacher, these are the two weapons, right? The duster and the chalk, or the duster and the marker.
Wow, this is one of the coolest demos I've ever seen. It's like you guys are in the same room. So it's quite cool. I think even with the virtual presentation, if I was a student, I would be really fascinated with my teacher's picture moving around the presentation. That's something really cool. With that being said, I'll ask this to Mangesh because I know that you actually go when these installations happen. So for I think people like us connecting external devices, to computers is a time consuming task for many teachers, and it can get really complicated. So how simple and quick is it for first time users? I'm sure you've installed Jabra devices. So how simple is it? I'm asking you because I'm sure Vinod will be selling it for himself. So let's hear it from you.
Definitely, Pallavi. It's as simple as which you have seen on the demonstration. Okay, so it's plug and play, and that's the USP of either Jabra or Zoom, and which has helped this technological adoptions into clients, into educational domain, or like any domain. So we know that we are moving into the technology generation, but then everyone is not that tech savvy. So with this kind of platforms, they just use the USB connectivity, which is a universal connectivity, and you just connect it to your laptop or your desktop or whichever machine you are using, and it's ready to go. Like as soon as you start Zoom, it would automatically detect the camera, microphone, speaker of Jabra, and you are ready to go. And with the new advancements, further advancements which we have seen, and as we've seen in the demonstration by Vinod, it easily switches from when Vinod was wanted to show the whiteboard to everyone, it switches to the whiteboard. And when we wants himself to be focused as a presenter, then it switches back, and the transition is very smooth. So that kind of considering today's need, we have taken that, we have got this kind of technological leaps. Okay, and with this as well, we are keeping it very simple, it's just plug and play. So we are not complicating anything.
Plug and play.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Thanks for clearing that out. If it's simple to use, I'm sure I think everyone benefits from that. Anand, I'm going to come and ask you a little more serious question. So we know definitely that, educational institutions are now definitely transitioning from physical processes to everything that's virtual. What are some of the gray areas that, still need to be addressed so that Zoom can be used to its full potential?
That's a good question, Pallavi. I think hybrid is here to stay, right? Yes, the pandemic has meant that everybody goes virtual. Now from virtual, we will go back to the classroom, and that's a good thing. That kids do get back to school and we get that moving. But hybrid is here to stay, specifically in higher education, in upper classes, right? Senior school, hybrid education is here to stay. So how can we keep the product, continue to make it accessible, or rather continue to make? I think the right way to put it would be, how do we continue to make education accessible? How do we make sure that educators continue to be empowered? Uh, and how fast can we get this adoption happening? Because I think if educational institutions want to remain competitive, they will have to take the hybrid route. And I think the adoption rates there probably are the grayest areas, if you ask me, right? From a feature standpoint, Zoom will continue to add features. I mean, I think we get releases so often. For example, we added an immersive feature about 2 weeks ago, or sorry, formally, I think it was formally rolled out. Immersive has been there for a few months now. But again, a very useful classroom feature where you can show a background screen like everybody's sitting in a classroom. So more and more features will continue to come out, from companies like Jabra and Zoom that will just help adoption increase. But at the end of the day, hybrid is here to stay. We have to make sure that the right infrastructure is available and we help educators adopt to this technology. I hope I answered that question there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, now that you've answered that question, how important is Zoom as a conferencing platform for the Indian market?
I think Zoom overall, I think it's ubiquitous, right? It's become almost ubiquitous. It's now
It's the go-to platform, I think now. Oh, yeah.
It's a go-to platform, and I'm not taking anything away from other players in the market. I think they're doing a fantastic job as well. But Zoom is ubiquitous in the market. For education, I think I think the education vertical is very important for Zoom. It's an area where Zoom will continue to work with, engage. We continue to innovate specifically for education, right? I think we're going to continue to have razor sharp focus on that segment for India in the coming years. There's absolutely no denying that, and it remains a very. I think we announced the acquisition of a company called Kites sometime back, which does real-time translation. So imagine you've got somebody delivering a lecture in one language and you're getting real-time translation. So it's just an example of the fact that education is super critical for us and will continue to be a key segment.
Absolutely. Vinod, I can see that there are a lot of questions about the Panacast 50. So, wow, people are really interested in that. Just to address that, is the intelligent recognition feature included with the device, or does it require like an additional plugin, and how would you distinguish a Panacast 50 camera from other players in the market?
Okay, this one. I would like to talk about the Panacast 50, and I will leave it up to our friends on the call to decide about others. So, Pallavi, yes, as a European company, Jabra always believes that the safety is of paramount importance. I mean, especially we are talking about hybrid education, right? So there are kids who don't have a vaccine today. I mean, so obviously, when we look at the Western world, it was basically whether it was in UK or the rest of the Europe, when kids went back to the school, they were the carriers of the infection when they came back home, and that's how it spread. So We in Jabra understand this totally because our headquarters people experience this. And we always encourage people to be socially responsible with masks and sanitizers. Having said that, it applies to our teachers and students as well. So at Jabra, what we did is, unlike the normal speaker trackers or whatever it is available in the market, because these are very important tools for educators. So when they actually train, when the teacher is at the board, so when the teacher is talking, the camera has to intelligently track the teacher, or when a kid asks a question, it has to intelligently look at the child, because that's where the inclusivity of learning comes in. So keeping that in mind, of course, what we decided is, we saw in the market where the cameras available in the market today were not able to detect this when people, when both kids or the teachers were with the mask on. So today, what we have come up with the technology, I mean, this is, I would say, 90% of the Jabra Panacast 50 is AI tutored. So it is having rich AI capabilities on the device. So today, imagine I am a kid sitting at about 10 or 15 feet away, and I raise my hand and ask a question. I mean, and put yourself in the shoes of a teacher. Can you see who is asking the question? And this is what happens. Like, the teacher can also be teaching with the mask on, and the camera can detect. So the teacher is always standing. So I just stood up to emulate that. Or it could be a kid from somewhere else in the remote corner of the classroom asking a question. So this is the technology that we brought in. And of course, all that the teacher and the student needs is a mask and nothing else. The teacher need not set up anything. No, the kid need not know about anything. And the other most important thing we brought up on our devices, because the devices are released into the market during the pandemic, right? So what we did is, today the institution can actually set a cap on the classrooms. So if the principal or if the authorities of the education institution feels that not more than 15 or 20 kids have to be there in the classroom, and by chance, if there is even one or two, I mean, anything beyond the capacity, our devices can actually send out audio alerts into the classroom saying that the class is not safe. I mean, it's beyond the safety capacity, and it can send out alerts. And it is a voice alert. Now I know our friends could ask, so when I say voice alert, Mangesh talked about Internet of Things and IoT. So first thing that comes to the mind of people is it like Alexa? Is my data going into the cloud? Is somebody snooping on me? And so on. No. So we use what is called as the Intel Movidius HAI processors, which actually do all these computations and all these algorithmic processes on the device, and ensures that our teachers and kids are safe in the classroom. Not only that, if the principal also wants to get an email alert as to which classroom was exceeding the safety capacity, which classroom violated the safety norms, you still have that option. Automatic email alerts can go. And of course, our devices are as easily manageable from our cloud platforms and securely manageable, just like how the Zoom platform is. So does that answer your doubts?
Yes, more than answers my doubts. Also, another very cool demonstration. I think you're really showing off the Panacast 50. It was very cool to see it capture and recognize that too so quickly. So thank you so much for that, Vinod. I think Anand, and this is the last question I'm going to ask you. So you know that we know obviously that there was like a sudden shift, for of the education system, sector, with training and learning moving to the virtual world. Do you think that this trend is something that is going to continue? I know that you said that hybrid is here to stay, but do you believe in that it's something that's going to continue in the future?
Absolutely, yes. No doubt about it. Um, I'd be kidding myself if I said anything else. Hybrid is here to stay, uh, and you will find an increasing amount of intervention or innovation that's going to come to the market. You will find a lot of applications that will help make this happen. Video collaboration is not the only one. You'll have content management systems, learning management systems. You'll have folks like Jabra, Vinod and team. You'll have folks who are delivering services like Rahi. Each of the players in the space will continue to innovate, and the hybrid environment is here to stay, especially in education and more so in higher education. It's not going to go anywhere in hurry. In fact, it's going to get entrenched and only going to expand. Uh, and if you look at it logically, we have to make education more inclusive. We have to make education more accessible. And in order to achieve that, no, building that ecosystem of applications, making those applications available through platforms like Zoom and other platforms, I think it's only going to grow from here, Pallavi. Very, very excited about what's going to happen over the next decade or so in this space.
Absolutely. Yeah. I also totally agree. I think it's definitely here to stay. Um, so Mangesh, this is also actually a question in the Q&A about Rahi, and I know that you've definitely done some recent installations with Zoom and Jabra in a lot of educational institutions. So can you talk about one such deployment that you've done recently, and what were some real time challenges that you faced, and what are the kind of questions that come in, and how do we at Rahi resolve these questions from our end?
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen a few questions as well, and which we have answered. So, firstly, it was a sudden change. Exactly, we are moving and we are into the technology world, okay, and we are seeing the phase of transition, okay. But then, we it's a gradual change which we expected, but then because of pandemic, we have to adopt the technology overnight, and everyone is coping with the digital platform, okay. Especially in educational, we know there are different users, there are faculty members, teachers, student, and everyone would not be that tech savvy, okay. So the first thing was the adoption to the platform, and the adoption would come how easy we make it. So being a solution partner, we make sure that we give a proper hand handling with the clients, okay. We give them the onboarding training, okay. And obviously, uh, solutions like Zoom, Jabra, they are the simplest platform in the market available. They are just plug and play. So as Anandji just mentioned, his 4-year-old kid is now able to access machines. Okay, so and these kids are attending Zoom lectures on their own, so that easily answers that question, how simple the platform is. So what I feel was adoption of technology was a major challenge. And but then these platforms being that much easier, which is the USB of this platform, that made it easier for everyone. The other challenge was the blocks in the people mind, they were thinking that, oh, we have done education from classrooms, from coaching classes, how would we do it from home, how would we do it from a virtual platform, how would we make sure that students would sit, especially the pre-primaries, or all those small children's. So how we would be delivering the content, students would understand or not. So all these were mind blocks, the questions. But then as they started using it, as they became more familiar with the platform, now they are confident enough that yes, this can be done. Classes, your schools, everything can run on a virtual platform. They would not face any technical glitches. People would as they are not from the tech savvy background, they would always have that hindrance that probably some technical issues would affect their virtual lecture. So they are now confident, they have adopted the platform nicely. So they are very used to it. So these are few things. And like, once this, as we, like, from the pending from last 1.5 year, as we move ahead, like, as people adopted it, they are good. And now, like, they are working on the advanced part, like, during the lectures, they know, like, how this platform provides a complete control to the faculty members, to the teachers, that they can control the movements or the actions of the students who are doing it. They can stop their audio, they can stop their annotations, they can take attendance as well. Now we have seen that, like, many institutes are going a next level into the advanced this thing, where they are using the API integration and integrating their learning management platform with Zoom. So they are, like, working on a customized learning experience to their students. And as Anandji mentioned, as we are the view that hybrid is the new normal, and, like, this would continue to grow. And people have like, adopted those challenges and the platform very well.
Absolutely. Thank you for giving us such a detailed, answer, and telling us what the challenges are and what you faced and how we've resolved them along with Jabra and Zoom. So Vinod, do you agree with the views of Mangesh and Anand on the hybrid environment, and if this is here to stay?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think uh, whether it is for the education or whether it is for our workspace, I think the hybrid formula is going to stay. Obviously, yes, it is important for kids, educators, everyone to get back to campus. But having said that, I think we will definitely adopt something like a roster system or something like that, where 1 week a set of students get back to campus, the other week the next set would get back. So but definitely yes, because the world has now seen that this formula works and it's been successful. It's and a massive country like India, where it has not failed. Obviously nothing can fail anywhere in the world.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I think I'll take that as a closing statement from Vinod and from everyone else. First, I want to thank all the panelists for joining us. And I want to thank everyone who stayed on. I can tell that this was a very interactive session. So I want to open the session now for Q&A. I know a lot of you all have asked questions, which Jignesh has already addressed. But if there's anyone who wants to talk directly to any of the panelists, you can raise your hand, or you can put it in the chat or in the Q&A, and we will be directly addressing the questions live now. Anybody? A lot of people have asked a lot of questions, and they've done that throughout the session, and Jignesh has answered most of it. Thank you, Divesh. I will take that as a very huge compliment. Anyone else? Any other questions about the Panicast 50? I know that even Vinod has answered a couple of questions. I know Mangesh has answered about Rahi. Is there something that you all would like to know about any of the features of Zoom that maybe you're more, I think Anand has covered all of it with live demos as well. So
Another wonderful repository for education is the Zoom blog. You can take a look at that if you are setting up an event, a webinar, or a classroom experience.
absolutely. Please share contact details. Okay. Awesome. So I think, we've talked a lot about Zoom and Jabra, together with Rahi as a service provider, and how we can enable, educators and students to have a more safe and smooth learning experience. We have highly trained AV experts at AV. Mangesh is one of them. So if any of your companies or any of your educational institutions are looking forward to getting installations done, you all can reach out to us. We have one question before I close. So for training room setup, how can Jabra Panacast be associated with the VR system? Vinod, I think that's for you.
Yes. So, Akash, you could share your contacts with Pallavi, but on the call, yes, I would like to tell you the Jabra Panacast was indeed started off for a VR system. So, way back in 2011, when I think virtual reality was I probably in its cradle, and that's when the Jabra Panacast was conceptualized by Intel and then spun off into a separate company called Altia Systems, which was later acquired by Jabra. So we still have some legacy, and this was set up for the Super Bowl in US. So it is just a 100-gram camera which can actually cover a Super Bowl. So yes, we can. I can get you more details about how you can integrate it with VR platforms. Yes, I think Rahi team would be happy to help set it up for you as well.
Absolutely. So yeah, with that being said, I am just going to be I'm adding Mangesh's email address. I'm adding a link to Zoom and to Jabra for all of you. So if you have anything you want to talk about, if you have any queries, feel free to reach out to Mangesh on his email address. You can go to Rahi Systems website, and you will be able to fill out the contact us forms. You'll be able to see all the Jabra products. You'll be able to see everything about Zoom as well. So yeah, uh, go ahead and feel free to reach out to us if there's anything that you guys would want to talk about after the webinar. Thank you, everyone. Special thank you to the panelists for making this so interesting. Thank you, Jignesh, for taking all the questions. I thought you'd be sitting till the end of the session, but you were busy from the very first minute, answering so many questions. So thanks for taking that responsibility on. Guys, you can also reach out to Jignesh if you all have any technical issues. If you're already using Zoom and you're not understanding what to do, you can reach out to him. You can also reach out to Mangesh for the same. I just to give you a little insight, they kind of trained me before we got on this call on how to use the webinar license, and I think I did well. So they'll definitely be able to help you too. Thank you, everybody. I'll let you guys move on to the rest of your days. Thank you, all the panelists. Hopefully, we'll see you guys soon with another webinar. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much, Pallavi.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank
Have
you.
a
Bye.
safe day. Bye.